Long ago, from high atop Mount Olympus, Zeus, the god of the gods, observed Princess Europa, one of the most beautiful girls in the entire world, playing with her companions on the flowery meadows near the seashore. Zeus, being Zeus, immediately had one thing in mind and one thing only.
I want clever.
However, he couldn't just go down to her and just do it. No, instead he turned himself into a bull, but not just any bull. He specifically transformed into a white, magnificent bull with gem-like horns and the smell of saffron and flowers. After that, he immediately joined Europa and the others. Of course, Europa was immediately attracted to the creature's gentleness. She stroked him, braided garlands of flowers to hang around his neck, and eventually grew so trusting that she climbed onto his back. The very moment Europa was seated, the bull bolted. He ran towards the shoreline and plunged directly into the Mediterranean Sea. The terrified Europa clung to his horns with one hand and held her ropes with the other to keep them dry. As they swam across the sea, dolphins followed them, and even Poseidon, god of the sea and Zeus' brother, smoothed the waves to clear a path for Zeus. They traveled from the coast of Phoenicia, which is about here somewhere, all the way to the island of Crete. Once there, Zeus wasted no time whatsoever and did things with Europa that I cannot explain in detail because it would lead to YouTube thunderstriking my channel into the deepest depths of Hades' underworld. Hoi mates, what's up? Today we are gonna take a look at possibly the only guy that can canonically rival Genghis Khan himself in terms of making children. Oh, there it goes. Anyway, Zeus is the top dog of the Greek mythology. He's the god of all of the following: sky, thunder, lightning, law, order, weather, fate, kings, and justice. And he used that position to, well, breed. A lot. But for context. Wait, stop! Before we start, I would like to explain that everything I'm going to say in this video is only meant for educational purposes. So YouTube, once I start, please let my channel live. Okay, now we can start. The whole mythology started with Gaia, the personification of the earth. She created the sky, her son Uranus. And then, Lord have mercy, they did absolutely nothing illegal and suddenly a lot of children existed. If you did not understand what just happened there, Gaia is both the mother and grandmother of these children. Where were we? Oh yeah, one of the most important of these children was Kronos, leader of all Titans. A bit later, when Gaia and her son/lover Uranus had some beef, Gaia gave Kronos a sickle so he can, Jesus Christ, punish his father/brother Uranus by cutting off his cock, so that he would lose his leading position. Well, soon after Kronos did just that and threw his father's/brother's blaze rod into the ocean. Then Aphrodite spawned because of that, don't ask me how, and Kronos took his place as a leader of everything. Soon after, he chose an extremely pretty girl as his wife. That was also his sister, Rhea, goddess of motherhood, fertility, and security. They did exactly what their parents did before them and suddenly there were 6 children there. Wink. Among these children were Zeus, Hera, and Hades. During those spawnings of children, however, Kronos went and visited the oracle. The oracle foretold him that he will be dethroned by one of his children. So he did the only logical thing. He ate them. He ate his children. After kid number 5 was eaten, however, Rhea got pity, and instead of giving him baby Zeus, she gave him a rock. And holy shit, that actually worked? Holy moly. Then she gave baby Zeus to her mother Gaia, and he lived with her until he was a grown-up. Then he did what the oracle once foretold, and somehow freed his siblings and dethroned Kronos. Afterwards he banished every titan, including his grandmother and mother for some reason, and took every god, be it his siblings or those that somehow spawned like Aphrodite, and went to Mount Olympus, which he then declared home of the gods. Sometime after that, he also married Hera, goddess of marriage, family, childbirth, and protector of women. And his sister. So, basically his perfect match. And that's where our stories start. King Acrisius of Argos, like all other kings ever, was desperate for a male heir. So he asked the oracle at Delphi. The news was far worse than he could have ever imagined. Not only would he have no sons, but his daughter, Danae, would bear a son who would eventually kill him. Not wanting to die, he constructed a windowless tower in which he imprisoned Danae. Because when she's in there, she could not give birth to a son, you know? Cruel but foolproof plan, right? No, because he did not plan for divine intervention. Zeus, as always, was already watching Danae from the Olympus. And of course, Danae was so pretty, he thought to himself, one thing and one thing only.
I want clever.
There was just one problem with that. There was no way into that tower. So Zeus did the only logical thing. He transformed himself into liquid gold and came to the tower as rain. He slid through the tiniest cracks in the roof and, conveniently, landed right in Danae's lap. Then, for whatever reason, Danae did things with this gold and somehow got pregnant with Perseus. But this is unimportant for now, because Zeus already has his next victim in mind. Leda was the queen of Sparta and the wife of King Tyndareus. And guess what? She was beautiful. Zeus, already watching from Mount Olympus, had only one thing in mind.
I want clever.
Someday, she was walking along the banks of the river Eurotas when she saw a magnificent swan in danger. The swan was fleeing from a big eagle. Leda, moved by pity and a desire to protect the creature, allowed the swan to take refuge in her arms. However, the swan was actually Zeus already in disguise. So, guess what happened next? Oh man. Anyway, the same evening, Leda did actually make love with her husband as well. This resulted in a biological phenomenon known in mythology as, sorry for that pronunciation, heteropaternal superfecundation. For normal people, that means she became pregnant by 2 different fathers at once. And if that wasn't awkward enough, instead of a standard human birth, Leda produced 2 eggs. From these eggs, 4 children eventually hatched. From Zeus's egg, Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world, and Polydeuces, one of the Gemini twins, hatched. From Tyndareus' egg, Clytemnestra, who later became the wife and murderer of Agamemnon, and Castor, the mortal twin of Gemini, hatched. After doing all of those things to the mortals, Zeus apparently felt bad and planned on making things right. Ixion, a mortal king who had been invited by Zeus himself to dine at Olympus. For context, that is a real honor. Like, it's above being president. However, Ixion repaid his hospitality with extreme arrogance. That included becoming obsessed with Zeus' wife Hera and openly trying to seduce her. Instead of simply, unleashing hell on this disgusting mortal thinking he could play such preposterous games, Zeus decided to test him and humiliate him. He took a cloud and shaped it to look exactly like Hera. This cloud being was named Nephel. That actually is the Greek word for cloud, by the way. Then, Zeus placed the cloud Hera in Ixion's bed. Ixion, believing he had successfully seduced the queen of the gods, immediately did things with the cloud. Anyway, Zeus was obviously not happy at all, so he revealed the truth. To punish Ixion for his attempted adultery, he had him bound to a forever spinning fiery wheel in Tartarus, which is the Greek underworld, and probably where you can find my YouTube channel after I upload this video. After saving his wife, Zeus had only one thing in mind. What? Spending time with his wife and, trying to make her happy? Come on, man, this is Zeus we're talking about. The only thing he thought was,
I wanna clap something.
Alcmene was the daughter of Electrion and the wife of Amphitryon, a famous general. She was known not only for her immense beauty, oh no, but also for her unyielding loyalty to her husband. She had refused to betray her marriage with Amphitryon until he had avenged the death of her brothers by defeating Telebuans. And that is some gigachat type shit if you ask me. While Amphitryon was away at war, Zeus watched Alcmene and realized that he could not simply seduce her through charm or force without ruining her legendary virtue. Then he did what every normal thinking life form would have done. Obviously not leaving her alone and loving his own wife instead. No, that would never happen. He transformed into the only person who could legally spawn babies with Alcmene, Amphitryon. And just before the real Amphitryon returned from his military campaigns, Zeus arrived at the palace of Thebes. But to make the deception perfect, he also possessed the real Amphitryon's memories of the war, brought a cold cup as a war trophy to show her, and he spoke with her husband's voice and shared his mannerisms. Guys, identity fraud is not cool, okay? Alcmene, believing her husband had returned victorious, welcomed him by spawning babies. To prolong this pleasure, Zeus commanded Hermes to tell the sun, Helios, to stay under the horizon, and the moon, Selene, to move slowly. This resulted in a single night that lasted as long as 3 standard days. Jesus Christ! Ich fall vom Glauben ab. Digga. During this hyper-extended night, Zeus shared his divine DNA with Alcmene. The real amphitryon arrived home the very next day, eager to see his wife. He was confused when Alcmene wasn't particularly excited to see him. She thought she had already spent 3 days celebrating his return. After consulting the seer Tiresias, Amphitryon learned the truth. He had been cuckolded by a god. As if that wasn't bad enough for the two in itself, like Leda, Alcmene experienced heteropaternal superfecundation. I can't pronounce that word, why does it keep coming up? She carried 2 sons at once. Heracles, the son of Zeus, divine, immensely strong, and Iphicles, the son of Amphitryon, mortal, though a brave warrior. This specific event, however, enraged Zeus' wife Hera more than most others, because Zeus bragged that the next child born of the house Perseus would rule all of the summoning lands. Then Hera used her powers to delay Heracles' birth and sped up the birth of his cousin Eurystheus, ensuring Heracles would be a servant rather than a king. This, by the way, set the stage for the famous 12 labors of Hercules. But most importantly, sweet, sweet justice for the mortals. At least partially. And with this somewhat happy ending, I believe it's best to stop. So that's it for today, folks. If you liked the video, please hype and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. See ya!